welcome to another episode of VB in Conversation. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at Singapore's efforts in advancing the AI development of that region. And for this, I have a very special guest star. I have Caroline Yap, who is the Managing Director of Global AI Business and Applied Engineering at Google. Caroline, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
My pleasure. And we've often heard say, 2023 was the year of AI, and here we are, early 2024. But it seems to, it's exploded for a start. I mean, the term AI, generative AI, etc. They've almost entered into the vernacular, not just in technology circles, but you switch on the terrestrial news and it's in there most days, right? So it's very much an of the moment thing, for want of a better term.
I would agree with that. I feel as if a lot of people were not ever interested in machine learning, or to them it was a little bit too complex to understand. And a lot of the examples I've given, so between Phil Moyer, Hamadou, and myself, we're the three leaders in this organization. And we're an organization out of our engineering team on the Google Cloud side. And we've had over 1,000 meetings in 9 months. And the number one thing, over 1,000 meetings with C-suite, boards of directors, etc., who are all very, very interested in this. Far more interested than they were with cloud computing, and definitely far more interested than they were when it came to virtualization.
It's the timing has been right over the last year. The technology has been right. A lot of things have come together. But that does mean that, Google, for instance, is looking at certain geographical areas or certain countries, certain organizations, certain governments, etc., to sort of help boost that AI development. And I think, it'd be interesting to know what are Google's thoughts in sort of boosting this development in Southeast Asia, for instance, and, Google's influence over the AI market in Singapore. But what is the importance of boosting that market in particular?
So for me, being a Southeast Asian, I'm Malaysian. I was born and raised in Malaysia. I speak 5 Southeast Asian languages. There's different decorum depending on who you were going to go visit, for example. And so you would know how to behave if you went to your Malay friend's house. You would know how to behave when you would go to your Indian friend's house. And you would know how to behave if you went to a Chinese friend's house. Those sort of nuances, I think, are really key, especially now that everybody is jumping onto this generative AI and AI bandwagon. We find that if we don't have this, essentially almost like a local model of some sort, right, to pair with large language models that understand human speech and human questioning. If we think of large language models as just a big thing for comprehension and human question understanding, without the cultural nuances, I think that there's more bias, and also there could be more hallucinations if you don't know how to layer all of those different sources to give you the most accurate answer.
In order for something to be a success, representation matters. And I think what Singapore offers is that gateway to the Southeast Asian market that allow and a government that has the foresight to see this and the foresight to enable and support this kind of, to put it bluntly, AI development and AI nurturing, for want of a better term.
Policy, regulation, and tech have to really come together because of audits. But future audits that might be coming, future best practices that might be coming. What do we do about the different ISO standards that are going to be coming out? I know this leads us to touching on, the new national AI strategy that Singapore has also done, and how I love that the new strategy takes into consideration a lot of the ethics, adoption, and design of services ultimately to serve citizens in Singapore, to serve consumers of technology that might be coming out to Singapore, whether it's homegrown or whether it's a multinational who's hiring people in Singapore to develop some of these new technologies. And I think it needs to happen more, believe it or not. It's not just so much about, it has to be a business and IT conversation. It can't just be an IT conversation by itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with anything that sort of impacts humans in such a way like this, governments are going to get involved. Regulation is going to get involved. There's going to be some kind of control. The Singaporean sort of approach to legislation and regulation in this space seems to be far more flexible, far quicker. I mean, it's run halfway around the world before any other government has even sort of tied its shoelaces almost. And it seems to be working far more effectively with corporations rather than keeping them at an arm's length. Is that something? Have you seen sort of personal experience of this? Are you seeing this happen day to day?
So I think there's a bit of a hot debate at the moment about whether AI is artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence. And so why I say augmented, right? Why I say augmented is it's going to help change the way some jobs are done. And for tasks where automation can make things happen quicker, things that a lot of us don't necessarily like to do, and perhaps depending on the industry that you're in, you might still need what we say, a human in the loop or reinforcement learning through human feedback. It's going to change the way we learn, augments the way we learn. It's going to change the way we work, augments the way we work. It's going to change the way we develop new products, new solutions, and new services in the way that we work. We can now record, for example, with AI, we can now record people with different speech abilities, right? We launched our Project Euphonia, it must have been about 5 years ago at Google. The video actually highlights how it allows Dimitri, who is a Google employee, but he has multiple sclerosis, and how he has a different speech ability. And so he would record the way he said certain things into Google Assistant. And so he actually can speak his normal way and it will translate it. And someone else who may not understand his speech can see what he said and is able to answer it because he understands normal speech. And I don't mean normal as in normal, I mean regular speech. So that's just one group, but how can we do that with other groups with different speech abilities? So to me, those are the real meaningful applications of AI. Not to say that a chatbot to help retail services is not meaningful. They're just meaningful in different ways. But also they all come together at some point because you have that speech library and you are a bank and you've created a new way for people to be able to use your services or communicate with your services. The more you can understand of humanity, the more you can understand of different people and how they might interact with you, I feel is better. It also removes bias from the way you design your interactions and things.
And I think that element you brought up about the startups and the big players, etc., being together, there's the AI trailblazers concept that's going on in Singapore at the moment, and some of the very real implications or very real world scenarios.
I've been working also with the Future Investment Initiative. They formed an AI coalition back in October, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to participate in that AI coalition. And they've actually been also learning, from what Singapore has been doing with AI trailblazers and how they can potentially build a framework because of the success of the AI trailblazers program. And I think the biggest takeaway from the AI trailblazers program for a lot of these other countries and, FII or any of these other groups has been the open communication around it, and also to encourage, startups as well as multinational companies and large, like we're talking, the Fortune 20 companies, and how to, think ethically and responsibly in a framework that supports innovation, but at the same time keeps the humanity aspect really, really clear. Like, okay, these are the discrete industries we want to solve for. And these are the problems that we know are coming up.
In your experience, Caroline, and with the experience of Google behind you, if there are companies out there that are looking to leverage what Singapore has to offer in the AI space and the support it can give, what advice would you give to them?
Obviously, contact the local Singapore, Google Cloud office. We have a very healthy startups program, which where we actually invest in startups to use our platform to actually test out their ideas. The other one is talk to the Economic Development Board of Singapore, right? See what programs they actually have to offer and what incentives there are. To me, from what I've seen, it's one of the better programs from the public sector I've seen to encourage, people to actually come into the region, to actually develop in the region.
Excellent. Caroline, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this VB in Conversation series. Visit Singapore EDB online to learn more. And for more stories about the tech revolution, subscribe to our newsletter and check out our other VB in Conversation videos at VentureBeat.com.